Imagine a world where your entire identity can be erased by a single click from a laptop thousands of miles away. It isn't just a nightmare, it's a global reality that Netflix's latest documentary exposes with chilling precision. For years, a shadow network operated from the heart of Lagos, orchestrating the most sophisticated digital heist in history. They didn't use guns or masks, they used code. Now, the world finally sees the face of the man who outsmarted the globe. The story begins in the sprawling, vibrant metropolis of Lagos, Nigeria. Amidst the bustling markets and the humid air, a young man sat in a cramped apartment, his face illuminated by the cold blue light of 3 monitors. He wasn't just browsing the internet, he was mapping the vulnerabilities of the world's most secure banking systems. To his neighbors, he was just another ambitious student. To the FBI, he was becoming the most wanted digital ghost on the entire continent. As the money began to flow, the lifestyle changed. The cramped apartment was traded for a glass-walled penthouse overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. Gold-plated watches, designer suits, and high-performance supercars became the new normal. Every purchase was documented on social media, a digital breadcrumb trail that mocked the authorities. This wasn't just wealth, it was a loud, vibrant middle finger to the global financial establishment. The master of the Ghost Network was no longer hiding, he was performing for a global audience. But how do you launder hundreds of millions of dollars without triggering a single red flag? The documentary reveals a complex web of shell companies stretching from the palm-fringed islands of the Caribbean to the cold financial districts of London. Every transaction was a masterpiece of deception, designed to vanish before investigators could even blink. The Ghost Network wasn't just one man, it was a sprawling corporate entity of crime, operating with the cold efficiency of a Fortune 500 company. While the masterminds lived in luxury, the human cost of their crimes began to surface. In small towns across Europe and America, elderly couples lost their life savings, and small businesses collapsed under the weight of frozen accounts. These weren't just numbers on a screen, they were lives shattered by an invisible predator. The documentary captures the raw, heartbreaking testimonies of those left in the wake of the digital storm, providing a sobering contrast to the flashy and opulent Instagram posts. In a high-tech operations room in Washington, D.C., a specialized task force began to connect the dots. They noticed a recurring pattern in the digital signatures left behind after each breach. It was a subtle, almost poetic style of coding that suggested a single source. These investigators were the best in the world, yet they were constantly one step behind a ghost who seemed to anticipate their every move. The hunt was no longer local, it had truly become a global pursuit. The breakthrough came from the most unlikely place, a social media post featuring a rare, limited edition handbag. By cross-referencing the reflection in a window with satellite imagery of Lagos, digital forensic experts narrowed down the mastermind's location. The very vanity that fueled his rise was now providing the coordinates for his downfall. It was a classic case of hubris, where the need for external validation outweighed the need for security. The net was finally beginning to close around the ghost. The documentary takes us inside the intense planning of the coordinated raid. Known as Operation Fox Hunt, it required the cooperation of law enforcement agencies across 3 continents. In the humid early hours of a West African morning, tactical teams moved through the quiet streets of a luxury estate. The tension was palpable as they approached the target's residence. They weren't just looking for a man, they were looking for the servers that held the secrets of an international billion-dollar empire. The footage of the arrest is nothing short of cinematic. As the doors were breached, the mastermind was found surrounded by dozens of smartphones and encrypted laptops. The transition from a life of absolute luxury to the cold reality of handcuffs happened in seconds. The documentary captures the moment the mask slipped, revealing a man who finally realized his digital invincibility had reached its limit. The world watched as the king of the Ghost Network was led away in the morning light. Following the arrest, the scale of the recovery was staggering. Investigators seized millions in cash, a fleet of exotic cars, and properties that looked like palaces. But the true treasure was the data. As experts began to decrypt the hard drives, they discovered a blueprint for modern cyber warfare. The Ghost Network had been selling their methods to other criminal organizations, creating a ripple effect of crime that would take years to fully dismantle. The rabbit hole went much deeper than imagined. One of the most shocking revelations was the network's ability to infiltrate government systems. They didn't just steal money, they harvested sensitive data that could be used for political leverage. This elevated the case from a simple fraud investigation to a matter of national security. The documentary interviews former intelligence officers who admit that the Ghost Network had capabilities that rivaled state-sponsored hacking groups. It was a wake-up call for governments who believed their infrastructure was impenetrable to any independent criminal actors. The trial became a media circus, drawing international attention to the courtroom in Lagos. Lawyers argued over digital jurisdiction and the admissibility of encrypted evidence. It was a landmark case that challenged existing laws and forced a global conversation about cybercrime legislation. The mastermind sat in the dock, no longer draped in designer silks, but wearing the humble attire of a prisoner. His presence was a stark reminder that even in the digital age, the law eventually catches up with those who break it. In the aftermath, the documentary explores the cultural impact of the Ghost Network within Nigeria. To some, the mastermind was a folk hero who beat the Western system at its own game. To others, he was a predator who brought shame to a nation of hardworking people. This internal conflict reflects a broader struggle between the lure of quick wealth and the pursuit of integrity. The film doesn't shy away from these difficult conversations, offering a nuanced look at the societal pressures involved. The focus then shifts to the victim's long road to recovery. Many will never get their money back, as the stolen funds were moved through untraceable crypto mixers. The documentary follows a small business owner in Ohio who lost everything but is now campaigning for better digital protections. Her story serves as the emotional heart of the film, reminding us that behind every headline-grabbing heist are real people facing devastating consequences. It highlights the urgent need for a more secure and compassionate financial ecosystem. Technology experts interviewed in the film warned that the Ghost Network was just the beginning. As artificial intelligence and deepfake technology become more sophisticated, the tools available to cybercriminals are evolving at an alarming rate. The documentary showcases how the tactics used by the mastermind are being automated and scaled by new groups across the globe. We are entering an era where distinguishing between a legitimate transaction and a sophisticated scam will become nearly impossible for the average person to do alone. The documentary also shines a light on the dark web forums where these crimes are nurtured. It's a digital underworld where stolen data is traded like a commodity and how-to guides for bank fraud are sold for a few dollars. By infiltrating these spaces, the filmmakers show how a teenager with a laptop in any corner of the world can become a global threat. It's a terrifying look at the democratization of crime, where the barriers to entry have never been lower. Throughout the film, the cinematic recreation of the heists provides a visceral experience of the crimes. We see the digital packets moving through fiber optic cables, the silent alarms being bypassed, and the sudden influx of funds into offshore accounts. The high-contrast lighting and dramatic pacing mirror the adrenaline of the criminals and the desperation of the hunters. It's a visual feast that underscores the high-stakes nature of this invisible war. Every frame is designed to keep the viewer on the edge. As the credits approach, the documentary poses a final, unsettling question. Are we prepared for the next evolution of this threat? While the Ghost Network has been dismantled, the ideology and the methods they pioneered remain. The film ends with a montage of rising cityscapes across the developing world, suggesting that the next mastermind is already out there, watching and learning. The battle for digital security is ongoing, and the stakes are nothing less than the stability of our modern, interconnected society. Netflix's production quality brings a new level of depth to this true crime narrative. By combining raw surveillance footage with expert testimony and high-end dramatizations, they've created a definitive account of a modern tragedy. Viewers are left stunned not just by the amount of money stolen, but by how easily it was done. It's a cautionary tale for the 21st century, a reminder that in the age of information, our greatest vulnerability might be the very technology we rely on for everything. The global response to the documentary has been overwhelming, sparking debates in parliaments and boardrooms alike. It has forced financial institutions to rethink their security protocols and individuals to be more vigilant about their digital footprints. This is the power of documentary filmmaking, to take a complex, technical subject and make it resonate on a deeply human level. The Ghost Network is no longer a hidden secret, it's a shared lesson in the fragility of our modern world and its systems. Ultimately, the story of the Ghost Network is a story of our times. It's about the intersection of technology, greed, and the human desire for status. It's about the boundaries of the law and the limitless reach of the internet. As we move further into the digital age, stories like this serve as essential warnings. They remind us that behind every screen, there is a person, sometimes a friend, sometimes a stranger, and sometimes a predator waiting for the right moment to strike. Looking back at the humble beginnings in Lagos, it's hard to reconcile that young student with the international criminal who nearly toppled banks. The documentary provides a psychological profile of the mastermind, exploring the motivations that drove him to risk everything. It wasn't just about the money, it was about the thrill of the chase and the power of being the smartest person in the room. But as the iron gates of the prison close, that power has vanished, leaving only a cautionary legacy. For the investigators who spent years on the case, the conviction brought a sense of closure, but not a sense of victory. They know that as long as there are vulnerabilities in the system, there will be someone willing to exploit them. The documentary ends with a call to action for better international cooperation and more robust digital education. We must work together to ensure that the digital world remains a space for innovation and connection, rather than a playground for those who destroy. As the screen fades to black, the silence is heavy with the weight of the story we've just witnessed. The Ghost Network may be gone, but the shadows remain. We are left to wonder who is watching us now, and what they might be planning. Netflix has delivered a masterpiece of true crime that is as informative as it is terrifying. It is a story that will stay with you long after the final credits roll, changing the way you look at your phone.